Hello, in this video I'm going to cover trig functions, graphing them, but specifically we're looking for the midline, the amplitude, and the period of a trig function. Okay, so let's get right into it. On this one, let's kind of go through what each one of these are. So the midline is if I were to draw a line straight across that would divide this graph, top and bottom. It'd have equal distance on the top and equal distance on the bottom. And the easiest way we can do that is if we just kind of look at where the top is and where the bottom is. So the bottom on this one is right at -4. So it goes right across. It's a horizontal line at -4. The top on this one stops right at 2. Okay, so essentially we take the average of those. So -4 and 2, well, let's see, that would be, -4 and 2 would be -2. The average, so divide by 2, would be 1. So right here, right at -1, right at -1 would be our midline. That would divide the graph right in half. So the answer to this one, the midline, would be y equals -1. It's y equals because it's a horizontal line. So it's a horizontal line right at -1. Now let's talk about the amplitude. So the amplitude is basically the distance between the midline and the top of the graph, or the midline and the bottom of the graph. So let's look at this. So the distance there between -1 all the way up to 2 is 3. And the distance from -1 all the way down to -4 is 3, okay? It's not a -3 because distance is never negative. Distance is always positive. So your amplitude on this one would be a simple 3. Period. And this one gets just a little bit funky. This is basically when we start the graph. What's the difference between the start of our graph and when it goes all the way around and completes one full cycle? Okay, so if we start on this one, if I can, I always like to start at 0, so I do. I start at 0 and I go around and I do one full cycle. So it's gone all the way up, all the way back down, and it's about ready to start again on the exact same cycle, right? There's no repetition here. Yes, it did go up, turn around, but now it's completed one full cycle. So what's the distance there? That distance between here, where we started, and here, that distance in this case is pi. So that distance is pi. Sometimes it's in degrees, sometimes it's in radians. In this case, this one was in radians. So, all right, now, I would like for you to find the midline, the amplitude, and the period on this one. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause the video right now. Then after you've paused the video, I'd like you to work this one out. And when you've obtained an answer, come back and push play. Okay. Check your answers here. Midline is right at y equals 2, and it should kind of look like it, right? We had 6 all the way down to -2. 6 plus -2 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. There you go. That's the easy one. The amplitude is 4. That's the distance between this midline and the top. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4 units. There we go. And the period, when this one started, it was all the way at the top, went all the way down, went all the way back to the top. Right before it starts going down again is 360 degrees. So, and you'll want to put it in degrees if I have my graph in degrees, or in radians if I have my graph in radians. All right. Try these two. So I'd like you to push pause on the video now, work them out. After you've obtained your answer, come back and push play. Okay, on these two, a little bit wild on there, but not too bad. The thing that was a little bit different on this one was your period. Your period on this first one, let's look here. If it starts here, this is where it just kind of crosses the midline, goes all the way up, all the way back down. It hasn't completed one full cycle yet. And it turns around right here. Oh, look at that. That's 180 degrees right here. Okay, you could also start it at a different point. You could have started it right here if you wanted to. This is 90 degrees. So let's go 90 degrees. And it goes up all the way down to right here. This is 270, which is 180 degrees in between them. Okay, on this one it was 120 degrees was one full circle, or one full cycle, excuse me, all the way through, and it stops right there. Okay? Okay, now I would like you to pause the video on this one. The second one's just a little bit challenging because I don't give you the graph, but you should know what the graph of cosine of x looks like. And that was in our previous video, previous lesson that we did. So push pause on the video now. After you've obtained your answer, come back and push play. Okay, here we go. This is what it should look like on this one. Again, the second one, you should know how to graph those. And notice that your period on this one, this is a very short one. It goes all the way down, all the way back up, all in pi halves length. So very, very short period on that one. Okay, now I'm not giving the graph on these because you should know how to do these graphs, okay? So I'm just giving you the equation. You need to graph it first and then identify the midline, the amplitude, and the period. So push pause on your video, and then after you've obtained the answer, come back and push play. Okay, check your answers here. Okay, you should notice on this one that the amplitude is very, very small, right? It's only a half, that's it. There's not a lot of distance between the midline and the top of the graph. Okay, this is the last one I'm going to give you. So push pause on the video, work this one out, draw it first, graph it, and then find your, all three of them, your midline, your amplitude, and your period. Okay, check your answers here. This isn't necessarily a really difficult one. You probably just need a little bit of practice with it, and I think you'll be okay on it. I'll post some additional videos as well if you need just some additional help on it.